Less than a year ago, I was asked a question. Jock, do you want to do the roof of Africa? Well, this film probably gave you the answer to my decision. Before we carry on, let me just give some context on why this decision is so important. Before 2022, I had never before even sat on an Enduro motorcycle. This is the first time ever me sitting on a Enduro bike. I did, however, have a dual sport, but was only used as a commuter between home and work. I was a complete novice. 10 months was all I had to develop the skill set, become fit and mentally prepared for the mother of hard enduro. The Roof of Africa is seen as one of the most important and extreme hard enduro events in South Africa. Tenacity and grit was all that was left as the decision was made. Bike in hand and kitted up, I arrived for my first training session. At the start of the route, there were a few rocks that you needed to ride over. For the average enduro rider, this was a walk in the park, flick of the throttle and a small bit of technique and you're over. This took me at least 15 minutes just to get over those small rocks, and I was exhausted, not a sign of confidence. From there, the training set in and the progress was slow. A lot of mistakes were made and I wasn't as committed to training as I should have been. About 3 months in, our team leader mentioned a race coming up that ticked all the boxes for a prerequisite to the roof, which provided a good intro into the type of race, especially for me who has never been in a race before. The Impi was located close to the Lesotho border and had a similar terrain as well as similar racing style to the roof. This was important to understand. We decided to go and preparations began. I started to focus more on training and getting myself ready for the event. I felt good about the journey. With 2 weeks to go, tragedy struck. My father, who was battling cancer for almost a decade, lost the battle. It felt like everything suddenly had to stop, but couldn't. I had to keep going and focus on the race. At that time, it was probably a way for me to cope with the loss. It was a way for me to not think about pain. I remember my father's funeral and the Impi time trial was on the same day, and we drove from the funeral directly to the Impi. Race day 2, I had to start at the back of the group because I missed the time trials. Reality hit me when I waited for my turn to start. It was like there were a million butterflies in my stomach, and I started doubting myself. It was a tough day in the saddle, and it took me more than 8 hours to complete. Although the first day was done, I somehow didn't feel the vibe at all. I tried to keep a straight face and tell the people around me that I'm okay and ready for the next day, but boy was I wrong. Luckily, I had my whole team and best friend, who is also the love of my life, rooting for me and supporting me no matter the outcome. The third day, I woke up with an unwilling heart, hoping that I could get a free pass and not race. I eventually stared reality straight in the eyes and knew that I had to do this. I started at the back of the pack, slowly taking hit after hit as the obstacles kept on coming, trying not to stop and slowly but surely keep moving. I eventually made it to the refuel point within 20 minutes of the cut-off time. I refueled the bike and walked to my crew, who helped me refuel my water and gave me something to eat. At that moment, I was in a different state, not thinking clearly. I was exhausted, but knew I cannot give up now. Do you know how it feels like when you run straight into a wall and suddenly stop? I mean sudden and abrupt. No more energy, no more hope, no more anything. That was how I felt directly after I left the refuel point for the final part of the race. I was defeated, broken drained in so many ways. I broke into tears just sitting and not knowing what to do. I couldn't pick up my bike to go back, and I was dreading the disappointment from my team and myself. Luckily, the marshals could see me sitting on top of the hill and eventually helped me down back to the refuel point, where I was able to call my wife and come pick me up. I lay down next to the bike in the sun and started to panic and hyperventilate. I felt like a failure.